TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Always make sure you have leverage before you make any decisions in wrestling. Whoa, lights go on. Now I'm on the toilet at Hamburg, Pennsylvania. Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. walks in. They don't see me, but I see their feet at the latrine.
Right.
They're doing their whiz thing. My feet go up because they're talking about me. And Vince Jr. is saying, why do we bring George in all the time and take such good care of him financially and everything?
Right.
Vince Sr. says, because it's a good deal. How's that? He says, we bring him in for 3 months. We sell out all over the Northeast. He leaves. We don't have to keep paying him in New York because the other guys, when they're getting beat, and they're still paying him top money.
Right.
So they're making a lot of money. He says, we don't have to pay him that money all the way through while he's going around. We can pay him big time for 3 months and he's out of here. We don't have to worry about him until next year. And he comes in, we can do it all over again. We've been doing it, at that time, it's like 7 years. He said, why would we quit? Well, anyway, he's the best deal we've got going. Leverage.
Right.
Bingo.
Wow. Were you surprised around this period of time? This is when Vince was pretty much taking over all the different territories and they were getting pretty popular. Were you surprised at how Vince was pretty much becoming a monopoly at the time?
No. I go back to the Eddie Ironhorn story I was telling you about when they went to competition.
Right.
Vince was in the car at that time. I was riding with Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. And Vince Sr. was really beside himself. That's when Vince Sr. started doing TV on Channel 9.
Yeah.
So because it used to be on a Spanish station midnight.
Right.
And he started doing Channel 9 to compete with Ironhorn. Well, when he knocked Ironhorn out of the box, he still had Channel 9. Let's move the story forward. Vince did not start the war. The NWA first came into Baltimore and was talking about they were going to come into New York, so on and so forth. But Vince, because of the Ironhorn thing, was itching for a fight. He was really itching for one, the kid.
Right.
And so when they come in there...
I think they did the Meadowlands. They did Flair Steamboat there, maybe.
They did the Meadowlands, but before that, they did the first one was Baltimore.
Right.
Baltimore, then they did the Meadowlands, and they were talking about the gardens and the whole bit. That's when Vince took the mitts off, and they started buying their talent, everybody else's talent, and it was a whole new ball game. And that's when I became a cartoon character. I mean, now we're not wrestling; we're just selling tickets any way we could.
Did you notice Vince change personality-wise as the company got more successful?
That's a great question. The changes that I saw in him were necessary. He tried to be one of the boys, and Vince don't know this to this day. When Vince first became part of the WWF, working for his dad as a little kid, before he was even an announcer.
Right.
And then the announcer from the ring, the TV guy from Pittsburgh, what was his name? He did all the TV in Pittsburgh for Bruno. Great TV announcer. They brought him into Pittsburgh, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia to do it here. And the name will come to me in a minute. And he asked, lo and behold, after about a year of doing the TV in Philadelphia, he asked for a raise. Vince Sr. fired him instead of giving him a raise and brought Junior in. Everybody loved this guy. I can't think of his name right now. I love him. I can't think of his name. It'll come. Anyhow, everybody loved him. So when Vince came in to replace him, everybody hated Vinny, the brat, the boss's kid, getting a break, and we lost, a lot of heat on him. And Vince Jr. learned the promotion business from Ernie Roth. When he first started running and doing towns up in Cape Cod in that area,
right.
Ernie Roth was his partner, and he taught him how to promote via the old man. Every time they rode together, it was the chief, at this point, wants to become involved in promotion, Strongbow, and McMahon. And he's pumping him to get all the information again on how to work a match. That's how he's learning how to work a match.
Right.
The old man come to me. He said, so much, and I was always pulling ribs and I was in and out, and I had a great relationship with the talent before I became an agent. And he asked me, he says, could you get some of the heat off my kid, off Junior? So I started inviting him to my little parties and my little get-togethers, and ding, 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 ding. One night we had, Patera was in the room, 3 or 4 heels, a couple baby faces, and Vinny was there with us, having a few beers. And they might have been smoking something that I wasn't smoking.
Right.
But, we were just kicked back in the room. And this guy come in with one of the wrestlers, with his girlfriend, Jewish guy. And he was acting like he knew it all. And he walked in, he says, Oh, now Vince, no respect from the boys at this time. This is when it switched for him. I knew it was all a show. You guys all drink together and all buddies. Now, this is when Kayfabe was strong. Vince came off the bed that he was sitting on, never touched the ground hardly, had the guy through the door and was going to throw him over the second deck onto cars when Kim Patera caught him. He would have killed the guy probably. But at that point, he became the real deal because he was protecting Kayfabe. And that was very huge back in those days. And Kayfabe was never, ever ran by the promoters. That was the boys' deal. It was our business. We never wanted the promoters to have our business. And if you're coming in and screwing my business, you got to deal with me. So when he did that, he became more popular with the wrestlers. The word went around right away that he protected Kayfabe, and then he was accepted.
Wow.
And then later on, he wanted to be one of the boys, and that's when he screwed up. It was a big party, and there was cops coming, ding. Found out, no, you can't be one of the boys. You got to be the boss.
Is that when I think Bret Hart was telling us about that story? They given him the finishes and stuff on the bed. I think.
And then what?
They went in somebody's hotel room, and a lot of the boys were giving Vince their finishes.
Probably the same night.
How did you burn a bridge with Vince? Was it because of the Nitro appearance?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We never talked after that. It all started. See, I'm the leverage guy, remember? Right. And it all started before that, really. Vince called me. I told you that earlier, to be an agent. When they decided to let me go, I felt like Vince owed me a phone call. Again, it's a principle with me. And principles are very important. Vince had what's his name? The Oklahoma guy, Jim Ross, called me, and he told me that they were kind of done with me, and I resented that. I resented it big time. So I didn't say anything for a while. He said that Vince is going to call you. He did tell me that, and I knew that Vince wasn't going to call me because Vince is emotional, and when I can say things about our relationship, me, him, and his father, and he'll start tearing. And he's a great guy, very emotional, and emotional people are great people usually. And so he couldn't call me probably, but I knew that. And so I gave him about a year and a half, 2 years, and they called me up and they wanted me to do this thing in Buffalo. It was in Buffalo for WCW, where we did the thing with the kid that's running TNT now. Anyhow, I told my wife, I said, I give Vince a chance to call. I'm real huge, and so is Vince, on closing, being the closer, relationships. I said, I got to do closure on Vince before he does on me. He hasn't called me, so I'm going to do closure. I'm going to do this show. Yeah, I think they paid me, $4,000. So it certainly wasn't about the money. But it was about me sending a message. And boy, did that message go in there big time.
Huh.
I never, I got a lot of friends that were around Vince call me, boy, he's really hot. That's all right. He had a chance to call me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I did that as just to close our relationship because a lot of things were going on and they were calling me to do this and do that. I didn't want to do it until he called me. They've called me 3 or 4 times to sign this Legends contract they're doing now. I haven't done it. I will not do it until he calls me. And he hasn't got I said I liked him because he's got balls. He hasn't got the balls to call me because he knows that he was wrong.
You once said the biggest mistake you made was not taking Vince to a wrestling gym and to break him in.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, I can. When I told you that when he first came in and his dad wanted me to get the guys to like him, I should have taken him at that time to the gym and taught him respect for the business like they were trying to teach me respect. I think everybody needed to have that, especially if you're going to be in that power seat that he was in. His dad never had that. It would have made him a better wrestling promoter today if he would have had more respect for the business, and he could still be doing what he's doing today, but he would respect the wrestlers more.
Are you surprised he's actually getting in the ring sometimes in wrestling, or?
No, not at all. That's his ego.
Right.
That's his ego. He always wanted to do that. His dad wouldn't let him wrestle. He dyed his hair blonde and wanted to be Dr. Bill Miller, Dr. Jerry Graham.
Right.
That was his idol. He wanted to wrestle when he was a little kid. He's always wanted to wrestle.
How different was Vince Jr. compared to his dad?
It was very much like his dad at first, but as things changed, and it was not his fault, it became a corporate business. It just started expanding and growing and going, I love Vinny. I really do. But more like a son than a...
Right.
There's different levels of looking at people. I don't look down at them. I don't mean that at all. But the reason that I have so much respect for him is business was changing, the climate in our society was changing, and he had balls, he had real balls. WrestleMania 1, if that hadn't worked,
Would have been over.
they lost it all. WrestleMania 3, 2, which one? Where they had the 3 shows.
That was 2.
Okay, I was sitting next to him in the Nassau Coliseum, and if that wouldn't have worked, in other words, he went from one show to another show to another show via the satellites, if that would have failed, he had to give all that money back he lost. And I was sitting right next to him. And when we connected from New York to Chicago, yeah! And then we connected from Chicago to LA, yeah! I mean, to me, that's what it's all, I mean, he was out on the edge.
Right.
And he could have been Mr. Nothing. A thing that happened way back when, and this is loyalty. I've always been loyal to a weakness at times, and Vince is pretty loyal. We had a little falling out there at the end because I'll explain that later on if you want to know it. But early on, Vince Jr. had just really come with his dad for maybe 2 or 3 years, and there was a guy by the name of Ironhorn that started promoting IWA, and they ran a show in competition in Roosevelt Park in New Jersey, right across the river from the Gardens. And I'm wrestling with Bruno the following Saturday. That was a Friday show, I believe, I'm telling you, right? Most of our shows were on Monday, but I think this was a Saturday show. And they had a show on Friday night, and Vince Sr. paid the New Jersey Commission, and he paid some other ruffians to go to the show. Savoldi's kid was one of them.
All right.
And it was an outdoor show, and when the show started, they rushed the ringside seats and started a riot.
Huh.
And the rain, it wasn't real bad, but it was a misty type, it was a cool night. So a lot of bad things went on. The following night, I was a main event with Bruno Sammartino. And the Gardens advance was really down because of this deal over here. They had all the superstars. They had Ernie Ladd, they had Ivan Koloff, they had the masked Mexican, what's his name? Mil Mascaras.
Right.
And they had quite a card. And one of the guys that was helping him book it was George Cannon from Detroit. He had called me, and they offered me more money than I was going to make that whole summer to show up at Roosevelt Gardens, not necessarily wrestle, but just my hand in the air, be part of that organization, then no show the Gardens the next night. And if I'd done that, probably wrestling history today would not be the same, because I would have killed the Gardens. But Vince had been so good to me, and we had that relationship, and I had a relationship with Bruno and all that stuff, that I didn't even bat an eye. I said, no, I can't do that. And I was talking to George Cannon, who was talking for Ironhorn, and the money was astronomical. I said, I can't do that. It's not about money. My life, I'm not a prostitute. I can't sell out. And then he said, well, we'll call you in Vince's office. And this was in the old arena, Philadelphia Arena. We'll call you in Vince's office. We'll talk money to you there, and they'll have to pay you more money. You can really put the screws to them that way, collect money from them and hurt them that way. I said, no, I got plenty of leverage. That would not be good leverage for me. So I turned it down. I turned the whole thing down. And I'm not, I think I did the right thing. But if not, then where would Vinny be today?
True.
And but more importantly, where would wrestling be today? Who could have carried the ball like he has? Even because where are the kids going to come from? They didn't have the territories. They learned how to work.
TitleMatchNetwork.com